Did you know this detail in Avengers Infinity War? Many people think Star-Lord is weak because he's only half human and blame him for losing the fight against Thanos. But he's actually much stronger than people realize. During the fight against Iron Man's team, if you pay attention, Star-Lord manages to overpower both Iron Man and Spider-Man on his own, showing that his battle IQ and experience are actually higher than most people expect. Did you know this detail in Avengers Infinity War? During the events of a TV show, Doctor Strange appears as a guest and performs magic tricks for children. But what's amazing is in Infinity War there is a scene where Squidward mentions this to Strange and says he must have been popular with kids.
Your powers are great. You must be popular with children.
And it turns out Squidward was actually right. Did you know this detail in Spider-Man Homecoming? When Spider-Man catches those robbers wearing Avengers masks while trying to rob an ATM, they start attacking him. And if you pay attention, there's a scene where he uses the arm of Thor to punch Hulk. This is actually a reference all the way back to Avengers 1, when Thor and Hulk are fighting together, and Hulk casually punches Thor, even though they're on the same side. Did you know this detail in Avengers Endgame? During the planning of the time heist, everyone who has experience with the stones explains them to the team, but when it's Thor's turn, he rambles about random things instead of explaining properly. Well, what's amazing is if you look at the team members, everyone looks bored and confused, but only Scott is smiling and enjoying it. And that's because Scott also has a friend like Luis who loves talking a lot, so he relates to Thor's rambling.
Right. So anyway, Scott gets out of jail and he starts working for Hank.
Did you know this detail in Avengers Endgame?
Don't post it.
After Thanos snaps in Infinity War, Tony Stark and Nebula are stranded in space, and they run out of food after 22 days. Well, the reason they run out of food is not because the ship is poorly stocked, but because back in Infinity War, when Thor is on that same ship before he goes to Nidavellir to create Stormbreaker, he actually steals some of the ship's food.
Excuse me, that's our food.
Not anymore.
That's why Tony runs out of supplies, since most of it is on the other ship that Thor used. Did you know this detail in Thor Ragnarok? Back in Thor 1, when Odin takes Thor's power and enchants the hammer so it can only be wielded by the worthy, you will notice this Triketra symbol appear for a second. Well, what's amazing is in Thor Ragnarok, when Doctor Strange helps Thor and Loki find their father, he uses a spell to track Odin. And if you pay attention, you will notice the same Triketra symbol in Strange's spell, showing that this symbol is connected to Odin himself and not just Mjolnir. Did you know this detail in Avengers Endgame? At the start of the movie, we see Tony Stark stuck in space for 22 days before he gets saved by Captain Marvel. Well, the reason he is in space for 22 days is not just some random number. This is because Endgame is actually the 22nd film in the MCU timeline. So Tony Stark survives 22 days, but doesn't survive the 22nd film. Did you know this detail in Avengers 1? During the events of Iron Man 2, during the racetrack scene, there is a moment where a cameraman takes a picture of Tony and Pepper attending the race. Well, what's amazing is, if we go to Avengers 1, during the scene where Tony and Loki are talking in Stark Tower, you will see the photo that the photographer took just casually displayed in the background. Did you know this detail in Iron Man 2? During the events after Iron Man 1, while Tony is improving his suit so it can travel to space without freezing, we see him drinking this weird green liquid. At the time, people didn't really pay attention to it and just thought it was a normal smoothie. But what's amazing is in Iron Man 2, it's revealed that this liquid is actually chlorophyll, and Tony is drinking it to purify his body, to fight the blood poisoning caused by the arc reactor in his chest.
We are up to 80 ounces a day to counteract the symptoms, sir.
Did you know this detail in Thor Love and Thunder? During Infinity War and Endgame, we never see Jane Foster, especially during Thor's darkest time after the snap. Well, this is because Jane was actually included in the snap, since when Thor and Jane meet again,
spoke too soon.
Jane thinks it's only been 3 years since they last met. But Thor says it's been 8 years.
What's your family? 3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months and 6 days, give or take.
The missing 5 years is because Jane was dusted at the end of Infinity War after Thanos did his snap. Did you know this detail in Thor Love and Thunder? After Hela destroyed Mjolnir back in Thor Ragnarok, the hammer was reduced to pieces. But in Thor 4 we see it again, just casually displayed in New Asgard. Well, what's amazing is the place where the hammer is displayed. Still the exact spot where Hela destroyed it. The Asgardian committee just dug around it to make it look like the hammer is on a pedestal. Did you know this detail in Spider-Man Homecoming? In Spider-Man No Way Home, we're introduced to the other versions of Spider-Man played by Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. But did you know this was foreshadowed back in Homecoming? During the school scene where Peter's creating his web fluid. If you pay attention, you'll see a label saying it's the third version of the formula, referencing Tom Holland being the third live-action Spider-Man. Did you know this detail in Spider-Man Homecoming? Back in Iron Man 1, when Tony Stark is creating his Mark II, during the designing phase he uses a hologram to visualize the arm of his suit. And he does this move where he wears it on his arm. Well, what's amazing is this was referenced later in Spider-Man Homecoming. When Peter is creating his own suit, he does the same thing where he wears the hologram on his arm. Did you know this detail in Avengers Endgame? During the events of Avengers Infinity War, Thor keeps calling Rocket a rabbit throughout the movie.
The rabbit is correct and clearly the smartest among you.
But is Thor just dumb and doesn't know what a rabbit looks like? Well, actually no. Because when they time travel back to Asgard in Avengers Endgame, when the Asgardian guards are chasing Rocket, one of them shouts, "Chase that rabbit."
I get it! Get that rabbit!
So it's not that Thor is wrong. It's just that Asgardian rabbits are big and look like Rocket. Did you know this detail in Avengers Endgame? During the events of Ant-Man 1 when Scott is fighting the Yellow Jacket, Darren mentions Scott saving the world with a heist.
You think you could stop the future with a heist? It was never just a heist!
Well, wouldn't you know it? This is the exact way Ant-Man saves not just the world but the entire universe, with a time heist.
What do you call it?
A time heist?
Yeah.
Did you know this detail in Captain America Civil War? During the airport fight where Captain America and Spider-Man first meet, there's a moment where Cap uses his shield to hit Spider-Man in the face. It looks like a normal attack, but this is actually a petty bit of revenge. Because earlier in the fight, Spider-Man kicks Captain America straight in the face and nearly folds him. Did you know this detail in Spider-Man Far From Home? During the events of Avengers Endgame, Cap manages to lift the hammer, making him able to dual-wield his shield and Mjolnir. Well, what's amazing is this was actually referenced again in Spider-Man Far From Home. When Peter uses this broken drone and a signboard, he and Cap look eerily similar. Did you know this detail in Guardians of the Galaxy? After Star-Lord successfully steals the orb that contains the Power Stone, when he goes back to his ship, we are introduced to this woman wearing this shirt. Well, what's amazing is this is actually Star-Lord's shirt from when he was still a young kid. It's amazing how he kept this shirt for all those years. Did you know this detail in Iron Man 1? During the events where Tony Stark is testing the capabilities of his Mark II suit after he escapes the cave, there is a scene where he uses his thrusters to fly out of his house. Well, if you pay attention, before he goes out, he actually hits the wall of his house. But what's amazing is, before this happens, Jarvis already tries to warn Tony through the heads-up display that he's about to hit the wall. This just shows how detailed Tony Stark's HUD really is. Did you know this detail in Iron Man 1? Near the end of the movie, after Tony successfully defeats Ironmonger, before he attends the press conference where he reveals that he is Iron Man, there is a scene where Agent Coulson gives him some pointers on what to say, but he also says that Tony only has 90 seconds before it starts.
You've got 90 seconds.
Well, what's amazing is Agent Coulson is actually right, because it really does take 90 seconds in real time before the conference begins. Did you know this detail in Spider-Man Far From Home? During the drone fight, when Mysterio releases his drones to hunt Peter's friends, there's a scene where Happy asks for a spear. But my boy immediately corrects the fat man by saying it's not a spear, it's actually a halberd.
Give me the spear. That's a halberd.
And Ned knows this because earlier on the plane, he's playing a game. And if you pay attention, his character is using a halberd as a weapon. That's why he knows the difference between a halberd and a spear, unlike the uncultured fat man. Did you know this detail in Avengers Endgame? When the team is preparing for their time heist, you will notice that Thor keeps wearing sunglasses even inside the building. Most people thought it was just part of his outfit, But actually, this is because in the 5 years after the snap, Thor stayed inside his house just playing games and drinking beer with Korg. So when he finally goes out with the team, his eyes need time to adjust. That's why he wears those shades to protect his eyes.